Ever since I was a young boy, I played the silver ball. From Soho down to Brighton, I must have played them all. But I ain't seen nothing like him in any amusement hall. That deaf, dumb, and blind kid sure plays a mean pinball.
Good morning, and hey now, PASW staff, clients, and friends. Welcome to Tuesday's class. Hey now, we've had a pretty good week so far. We looked at the Alfred Hitchcock movie North by Northwest and your film scoring assignment. So get that into me by tomorrow, and we'll see the results for Friday. It should be very fun for that cool Mount Rushmore scene up there. So today we're going to be doing something different. We're going to be looking at a rock opera. So rock opera is mostly, it's not an opera with classical music. Usually rock opera refers to kind of a collection of rock songs that relate to kind of a common story. So, usually it's like another name would be like a concept album. And I know that you guys did Recovered, and I'm sure many other concept albums, concept films. So this one is, so we know an opera means, no dialogue for the most part. But opera really means work in Italian. So really anything could be an opera. But today we're going to be looking at a rock opera, one of the first, maybe the first, by the very famous band The Who. So today we'll be looking at The Who's Tommy. Who's a English rock band, kind of right on the cusp of like hard rock, kind of getting in the late 60s. But they formed in 1964, and they've sold over 100 million records. They're one of the most famous rock groups of all time, and in particular we'll be looking at their album, their concept album Tommy. But it was mostly written by Pete Townsend, and he's the songwriter for The Who. Still writes songs and still recording today. So we're gonna listen to some songs. We're gonna talk about the album. We're gonna have a lot of fun. So let's go from Mount Rushmore to England, where they recorded Tommy. Tommy is their fourth studio album by The Who. And so this comes out in May of 1969. Now, because you know what's coming next, I like to look at 69. There's a lot that happens in this year. And I mean a lot. Okay, like Woodstock is that year. We know that, right? We looked at Jimi Hendrix playing at Woodstock. Several groups got their start really by performing there. So huge year. Okay, what else? Well, the Manson murders happened in August, kind of in summer. We just had the anniversary, but that shakes up the whole world. Now people are locking their doors at night, and kind of the age of hippies are kind of moving into, wait, hippies can be dangerous? That's scary now. I thought they were all peace and loving, but all of a sudden Manson and his kind of hippie-ish, deviant psychopaths are literally coming into our living room. So that's not good. PBS is established for the first time in 1969. And then Neil Armstrong, of course, lands on the moon. And with The Who, their album really breaks kind of a lot of boundaries. When you think of, this is a very extended musical work. So Pete Townsend didn't really want to keep doing 2-3 minute radio songs or songs about love, that were 3 minutes something. What about songs that are 8 minutes, 10 minutes, stuff that's too long to play on the radio? So you'd have to go and buy the double album or the full album. We looked at the Forum a few weeks ago, and that venue could accommodate large, huge arena rock bands, where rock bands could perform their live albums, as opposed to the Whiskey, where bands like the Doors, the Byrds would record, perform a few songs. So now we're seeing the development of bands, and the Beatles probably started this with Sgt. Pepper's in 1967, bands going beyond just simple, bubblegum pop songs. And this is before Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice's Jesus Christ Superstar. This is just a year before that. And we looked briefly at that with John Paisley's score, that when he chose the overture for that. So this is on the cusp of a whole new decade of music coming in. The success of Tommy saved The Who. They were kind of going down and in debt because they were breaking their instruments, and that just wasn't happening until this album came out and they started touring. It also was great timing because it came out the year Woodstock was there, and they performed it at Woodstock.
I get music, music at you. I get you, following you. I climb a mountain, I get excitement at your feet. Right behind you, I see the billions on you. I see the glory on you. I get opinions from you. I get the story. Listening to you, I get music, gazing at you. I get me following you. I climb a mountain, I get excitement at your feet. Right behind you.
So the story changes a lot, but the plot is kind of this boy who's brainwashed by his mom into thinking that he's blind and deaf, and then he goes on to discover that he actually can feel these vibrations, feel these things, and he can become this great pinball player, and through that he kind of comes into this religious experience. That's kind of roughly. It's more about the songs and the super groovy 60s kind of psychedelic realm that Ken Russell really was very cool at creating. So Ken Russell is the avant-garde director, British director, and in 1975 he makes the movie Tommy, with all of them as in the movie, along with Anne Margaret, Jack Nicholson, Oliver Reed. It's a bizarre movie, but iconic for when it came out. So you have Roger Daltrey, vocals and harmonica, Pete Townsend, who wrote all the songs, keyboards, piano, vocals, John Entwistle, bass, great bass player, and French horn. So you can hear the French horn. He was the only one that was musically trained out of all of them. And then Keith Moon, the drummer, who died tragically, but was an amazing percussionist and drummer. Such fun music, right? It gives you so much. There's so much drive in this kind of hard rock and roll music. Probably musically, what I like about it so much is it's such a simple chord. So the suspended fourth chord. So the suspended fourth chord is, we've talked about just a major chord, right? C, E, G is a major chord. C, E flat, G is a minor chord, C minor chord. Okay, so let's stay with C major chord, C, E, G. So what their kind of motif and throughout this, Pete Townsend's musical motif throughout this whole opera is this chord being resolved. So if we have a suspended four chord, we have C, F, G. Okay, and it looks and sounds like this, right? It kind of sounds a little bit, not dissonant, but a little bit. You're waiting for it to resolve to this, right? Doesn't that sound right? Okay, so here's suspended fourth. Now here's the third. So it's resolving, the suspension's resolving to a major chord. And then when you speed it up and when you use the strumming on, like Pete Townsend uses the guitar, it becomes really cool, doesn't it? I don't know why so it's really one chord. If we just say it's a C suspended to a C, It's just kind of, it's one note, but it's still a C chord. But it really grooves, doesn't it? I love it.
Sure plays a mean pinball.
This is a motif used in many times throughout the opera. I feel like sometimes they'll just be playing and then they'll just go back to that kind of groove that really is just like so badass. I do like the Who's performance of it, but I think in '92 they made a musical, a Broadway musical of it, and those, I think, orchestrations just elevate the songs. And I bet my mom is singing along right here with some of this, because I know at the amphitheater, at Universal Amphitheater, my sister and my mom would go see Tommy all the time. I was a little too young to see it, but I loved when they would come back into the car and they were singing the songs from the show, from the Broadway show. And it sounded so fun. I remember the T-shirt that they got. I wanted to know about this, and then look at me now, I'm talking about it, so I did know about it. So that's a little bit of the Who's Tommy, rock opera, fantastic, 1969. Still love those songs, and that groovy suspended chord is just so fun, so fun. Okay, for now I've said it all. I'll say more tomorrow for Wednesday's class, so looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, and have a great rest of the day.